Hello everyone, my name is Joshua. This is the 104th video on my video journal series. Today's date is Saturday the 23rd of May 2026. How's everyone been? I've been pretty good, thank you. And something I want to discuss with you today is getting cold feet. Now, I don't mean physically getting cold feet, but it's essentially like backing down last minute from a commitment, or saying you're going to do something, but then last minute things change, or you just have a change in behavior or confidence, and you're like, no, I can't do this anymore. It actually happened to me today. A few days ago, I applied for a job, and I got a response saying, yeah, you can come in for the interview on Monday. I thought to myself, oh, Monday, oh, that would be cool. And then I looked into like the job. I won't go into what it was. It was just like a retail sort of thing. And I was just looking into it, and I was like, you know what, this is not going to be my future career path. And I know it seemed like a very dumb thing to do, but I sent an email just canceling the job interview. Now you might be wondering why did I do that? Like, you'd even go to a job interview, you'd even get to experience or even meet the owner or other crew members and all that. And I was just like, you know what? Based off the job description, based off, I guess, proximity, based off, you know, like, am I willing to work in this sort of industry? And I was like, you know what? Now I think I'll shelve it. And to be fair, like, it does seem like a very dumb thing to apply like to places and then reject an interview. But I always felt like, well, you know what, maybe I don't want to go back into retail. Maybe it's a mistake trying to go back into retail or another industry like that. Maybe I want to search for full time work or an apprenticeship or traineeship or whatever. So, yeah, I sent an email, and look, like, in hindsight, to me, it felt kind of stupid, but I was like, you know what? These sorts of things happen. Come to think about it, if I went into the interview, they could have like easily dropped me, like saying, "Oh, we were not interested in you," or, you failed the interview, or we'll consider you, but we won't like give you a response back, sort of thing. And obviously, I didn't sign any contracts or anything, which means I'm no in like legal agreement or whatever. It's just like a casual thing, and that place I'm most probably not going to play very again. So, you know, what harm has been done? Really, nothing. Obviously, I will say this: be careful of, I guess, where you play. Not that this place was suspicious or anything. It's just that, like, I just don't want to go back into, I guess, retail or hospitality or anything like that. I think it's time for me to move on beyond that, I guess, industry. But there's been plenty of times where I've gotten like cold feet, or maybe like availability, um, or certain commitments have changed, and you have to like cancel the day before, sort of thing, and that's completely fine, even for like social events and gatherings. Whenever I host social events like parties and all that, I always get like people canceling the day before, and that's fine. Um, you know, uh, Shit happens in life. That's all I have to say. I'll say it's never really, I guess, too late to, I guess, cancel on something. I mean, even if it's something important, if you have like another commitment, or you have to go to this place, even if it's just like the day before, I guess you'll have to like quickly communicate to the other person or to the other party saying, hey, I'm not able to do this. Or I guess if it's like, even if it's like, I don't know, going on a roller coaster, for instance, I like to use this analogy. You're lining up for a roller coaster, and you think, oh, it's going to be a wicked time, But, as the queue progresses and you get further and further into the line, you go, oh man, I don't think I'm built for this roller coaster. I think I'm going to back out. It's never too late to back out of a roller coaster, essentially. If you feel like you can't ride that roller coaster, even if you're just from the line, just saying, nah, I'm just going to leave, Even when you're like about to get on, you can always like get off before they like buckle you in, essentially, So yeah, like that's like my perfect analogy in life. Like, if you want to pursue something, and then you're at the front of the queue, ready to go on that roller coaster, but then you know, I mean, it's natural to get cold feet and all that. But if you have like confidence that, yeah, I would not be able to do this, um, you can easily exit the queue at any time. Don't feel pressure to doing something just because you said yes. Obviously, I'm no like contract expert or anything. Contracts are a whole another separate matter. But if you just said yes to like, I guess, a job interview offer, or if you even said yes to like, you know, a party, social function, event, or whatever, but things change or you don't want to do that thing anymore. It's never too late to say no. And like I feel like the probability of you, I guess, declining or canceling it will actually increase the closer it gets to the event. So it's perfectly normal in my eyes. Not because I've just done it, but like it's perfectly normal just to exit that queue of the roller coaster. And that's another thing I've done, like exit that. I'll finish first. Exit the queue out of that roller coaster, and just find another ride that suits your preferences. But I've definitely done that with roller coasters. I guess that's where I got my analogy from. When you're at like a theme park, like Movie World, for instance, there's been plenty of rides which are like, I've queued up for, but then I realized like last minute, hey, I don't think I can do this. So you like just get out of the queue. Nothing wrong with that. I remember like Jamboree. I went to Jamboree years ago, and I remember there was like this massive cliff dive. I remember doing the cliff dive multiple times, even though I was like scared of heights. I always found it fun. But I remember like there'll be some people, right, like older than me, mind you, and I was like 8 or 10 years old. I was like 10 years old, most probably 10 or 11, not 8. And I'll be doing it. Well, people like teenagers and adults and all that who would like back down last minute. They'll wait in line, and it's when their turn to I guess do the cliff dive, they back out. And I've seen it plenty of times. I look at like the the pool of water below, and they're just like, I can't do this. I think it was 10 meters or something like that, 10, 12 meters. They say to themselves, no, I can't do this. Can't do this cliff dive. I'm out, and that's completely reasonable. I mean, you should always, I guess, like beforehand evaluate. Hey, is this going to be for me? But looks can be deceiving, right? Something may me seem promising and easy on the outside, and obviously, I guess it's always worth it to, I guess, evaluate and check it out. But if you're about to initiate that action and you've properly looked at what its, I guess, true angle is, and then you realize like, nah, I can't do this. Don't feel pressured. Don't feel peer pressured. I don't care if there's like 1,000 people chanting behind me. Do it, do it, do it. If I know I can't do it, I'll have that self confidence. Like, nah, I gotta back out. I'm getting cold feet about this. And obviously it's a natural thing to feel nervous and all that, but it comes down to what risk you're willing to take. Self risk. That's a very important thing you should know. If you just realize, hey, I will not be able to work in this industry or field, it's going to be too boring, it's not going to align with my career path. I'll just say, yeah, like, even like, when it comes to the interview, I guess job offer process, I'll say it's fine to turn down an offer. I mean, yeah, but yet again, it comes down to like self risk. I think I'll just stick to the roller coasters because I know that a lot better. But like I remember as a kid, I don't know where this was. This would have been at a Sydney Roll Easter Show type of event. It was one of those like pop up theme parks, or like a permanent thing. I think it was at the Easter Show, and I remember that they have like one of those rides where you sit in those seats and then that middle thing spins around, and then you like go around in these, like, I forgot what it's called. It's like massive thing, right? And you got like seats around it, and then the thing in the middle spins, and then all the seats going like flying up in the air. I forgot what that's called. I sound really dumb, but I remember going on one of those as a kid, and I remember like maybe being around less than 10 years old. I remember when they were harnessing everyone in. Mind you, it was only like one little bar, and I was scared of heights. There wasn't like no proper harness. It was just like, oh yeah, you just like, like this, you flip over this mini bar, or you just like cling onto this sort of thing. Those type of rides are like really, I guess, not really safe, quote unquote. Like most of the ones I've seen, they only have like minimal safety protections. But yeah. So I remember like they're loading everyone in, and obviously dumb old me thought it was going to be like a great idea to go on this ride. And but right before they're about to start the ride, when they're like harnessing everyone in, I just started like I think I started crying or something, just saying, "Oh, no, get me out of it, get me out of it." And I remember like one of the attendees had like to get me out of that because like at last minute I bailed, and thank God I did because I think my brother went on that ride, and afterwards he was just like scared, you know. I think he was like visibly shaken, and I think he might have cried as well. I'm not sure. It was so long ago, but I remember like looking at it from ground level and like going, "Holy crap! I could not do that as a 10-year-old." Like, I was scared of heights. I was like, "What if I fall out?" You know. Um, yeah, and I think I made the wise decision, and I think that happens mostly on like theme park rides and attractions, you know. And I don't care if I wasted an hour in line. I don't care if I said to all my mates, "Hey, I'm gonna go on this roller coaster." If I can't do it, and I'm like, "Nope, I'm backing out of this," I back out, right? Um, you know, and I think like it's obviously there's like red flags, and just like don't feel like you've upset anyone when you like backed out of it really depends what situation this is, but like if it's like something that I guess quote unquote personally it like benefits you per se. I don't know the exact way to put this, but if it's something minor like I don't want to go on a roller coaster, this is an action that only affects me, affects no one else really, unless like because I didn't make any bets with anyone or whatever. It's just like I told my friends, hey, I'm going to roller coaster, but then I backed down last minute because I'm not confident on going that roller coaster. That's it, right? Um, like with my analogy of that job thing today, if I realize this is not going to align with my career opportunity, then I'm like, all right, well, I'm sorry, I'll I can't do the interview. I have to do something else. I'm focusing on another career path. That's it. Um, Employers are, I guess, very used to that sort of thing. They can drop you whatever they want, basically, and you haven't upset anyone. Like, don't feel like I guess you're forced to do something that you don't like. I mean, we all have to pay taxes, but when it comes to I guess riding that roller coaster, that's my analogy. If you're just like I guess coerced by others just to simply do it, um, don't be. Essentially, it's all about the risk that you take. Essentially, and I don't like being coerced or peer pressure. No one really likes being forced to do that, and it only leads to like dumb things. If you're being peer pressure, like peer pressure to drink, peer pressure to do silly stunts and all that risk lives. And usually people who are peer pressure, they usually get cold feet right beforehand, and they're like, "Oh, you know what, frick it," because everyone's chanting me on. No, don't. All right. Sometimes those who speak the loudest aren't always the smartest, but those who are the smartest don't always speak the loudest. I'm not claiming that quote or anything, but I think that's a very good quote um, in life. Just because someone's yelling or chanting at you does not mean they're the smartest, but does not mean that the um, quietest people are the dumbest. In fact, quietest people can always be the smartest. And you could be that quiet person and just say no. The power of one word, just no. And I think I've just drawn upon my personal experience of roller coasters. And, I always hate it when people try to coerce you, saying, "Are you really sure? Are you sure? Can we rearrange that? Are you 100, 100?" And I'm like, yes, yes, yes. I am 1000% sure. I don't care if this leads to a negative consequence. I have made a firm decision, and that is to be respected. That's how it should be. I don't like coercing others. I've learned from legal studies and all that throughout high school and learning about laws and stuff. That you know, if you were to, I guess, phone up someone or go to their door, because I've like, you know, for charity work. I haven't done charity work, but for instance, if you do charity work or if you're part of a religious or political organization, um, you knock on someone's door, or you have the implied right. At least here in Australia, this is not legal advice. I guess you have like an implied right to go to that person's door in the first place if you never met that person or never had an interaction. You knock on the door, you say your business. Hey, I am Joshua. I am here on behalf of X organization. Do you want to hear my shtick? You wouldn't put it in those exact terms, but that's how it goes. And if someone says, "Yeah, I'd like to hear that," or you continue, but I guess if someone says, "No, get off my property," the first thing that you do is get off the property. All right, you get cold feet, you get off the property. All right, if you enter on private property, like someone's house or whatever, obviously, just like um, as a charity organization work or whatever, and as long as like you have the implied right to go to the front door and you do it all in a perfectly legal and ethical way, you knock on their door, and yeah, if with someone, I guess that's how I've always been taught in like legal studies and law and all that. If someone says to leave, you do the first thing, you leave. If someone says, "Oh, don't phone up this number again," you do not phone up that number again. You don't ask, I guess, "Are you really sure you want to kick me off the property?" Not that I've ever been through this, but it's from what I've learned and I've adopted in my life. If someone says no, I'm all right. Oh, okay, 100%. I don't follow it up. I don't coerce them or anything like that. I just say, you know what, it's your decision, and I respect it. I just hate when you try to like cancel something, even like with a subscription nowadays, and it's like you have to go for 1,000 freaking hurdles. Yes, I am 1,000% sure. Coercing someone, I guess. It depends what it is, but if someone says, "Oh, I can't go to this X thing," and the person who invited them says, "Are you really sure? It'll be lots of fun and all that." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm 100% sure." And then tell them why, or I guess if you're comfortable, why. But in my brain, I come up with a logical, sequence. I know they're going to say that, and I give them valid evidence. Here's my evidence. Here's my point. If I'm not comfortable with sharing that evidence, I'm not. But in my brain, that's how my, my um, figuring out process works, and that I stick to that certain point. Why I am backing out? Why am I getting cold feet? Essentially, and there's been times where I've gotten cold feet and I've gotten like further and further into something, and I realize, hey, it's not that bad. In fact, it's actually quite good. So yeah, I always like it comes down to risk. We all take risks within life, but I guess the key thing is to identify that risk and evaluate that risk before you take it. Don't sign the contract without reading the contract first. We always scroll through the T's and C's and all that of social media and all those internet apps, but obviously they're like long on purpose. But before you sign on, I'll just do a quick Google search about the T's and C's of Instagram or Facebook if I were to join those platforms, and I'll understand what am I getting myself into. Same thing with if you're signing a work contract, or read over the contract. Read over it with a lawyer or someone like that, like a legal professional, just to know 100% what you're getting into. I remember my dad, he always read over like the T's and C's of apps before clicking accept and all that. He was one of those people. And I always thought as a kid, it was outrageous, like he'll scroll for like 20 minutes or 30 minutes or even like a long time. It certainly felt like an hour where he would like scroll through. And I guess like now I realize why he did it, and I guess with like social media and all that, it's not. I guess it's like a sort of different thing with their T's and C's. It's not like I guess a lifelong commitment. You can always abandon social media, but yeah. So I guess like I said, the closer that you get towards an event or something that you have to do, the increased likelihood there is of you, I guess, canceling it or not be able to come or just getting cold feet, and that's completely fine. I've had people, I guess, cancel on me, even like professionally, like really, like up until relatively like late. It'll be maybe like a few hours before or the day before. Um, man, trying to think of maybe like another instance where I guess it's personally affected me. Um, hmm. Oh, maybe like not like I can't think of I guess recent professional cases, but I can think of like social events and all that where I you know say to my friends, hey, I'm willing or I'm able to attend this a social event, and then the social event gets postponed to like next week or something because of like the weather or individual circumstances. And I'm like, you know what, that's okay. So yeah, in my perspective, is someone else can like, uh, if it's I guess socially acceptable to move, postpone things, or cancel things, um, as long as like you're not like drastically impacting I guess other people if you're not like taking their money and not giving back refunds or whatever, like a concert thing. Um, you know, I guess like yeah, like obviously if concerts were to cancel on people saying we can't no longer do the concert, they'll give back. Hopefully, they'll give back the money to everyone, and then everyone's happy, or maybe sad because the concert's closed. But yeah, I guess to like wrap things up a bit. Yeah, so don't be coerced to do something that you don't want to do, essentially. And obviously take that with discretion, all that. Yet again, we're all going to do life's necessities, get a job, pay taxes, do all those stuff. So I don't mean those stuff, but like, I mean, like, if it comes down to like a social event, job opportunity, even, it's all about risk, what personal risk you're willing to take. And um, yet again, though, sometimes even very late into the job um, process, like it could be maybe your first day on the job, for instance, and you realize, hey, this job ain't for me. I know it won't be for me. You just say, hey, I don't think this job's for me. I'll like to quit, and don't be afraid. Don't really like. It's just more of a, I'm not gonna let them change my mind. I'm gonna reasonably state to them what my intention is, and that is final, sort of thing. I always hate it when you like yet again go up to people and they ask you, "Oh, are you really sure?" They try to like coerce you and all that. I try to fight back against it, and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I am 100% sure. Here's my reason why, if I'm comfortable sharing why. Otherwise, I'll just give them a generic response, and I'm like, yep. Obviously, I don't know. I never really quit a job on the first day, but you know, I'm assuming. Would you have to give 2 weeks notice? I don't think so. You could just say, I'm not going to come up to like the next shift. It yet again depends what you do. Obviously, I'm no like expert, but all I can say is, yeah, don't be coerced. Don't ride that roller coaster if you just get cold feet and you realize, hey, I can't do it. Because at the end of the day, look, we've most probably all have done that sort of thing. Backed out of a roller coaster, people call us, cowardly, but we realize to ourselves, you know what? We're brave for not, I guess, being judged by other people. We're brave. And I think, it's the bravest thing to self realize that, hey, I made a mistake, or hey, this is not what I thought it was going to be. I have to reevaluate. Here's my decision. I'm backing out. It happens all the time, even in like the, legal system, right? Um, sometimes even want the party to like back out like early before the court proceedings, or they just reach a settlement before they're found guilty or whatever, so they can like avoid liability. In fact, reaching settlements is like pretty much what happens like the vast majority of civil cases, like over 90% of civil cases, they just reach a settlement, and that's like completely normal. I've had people I've hosted like social events with my friends, and even I've been within the professional world. Like nothing pops into my mind right now with the professional world, but there's certainly been instances where like things have changed, and I've had people like cancel out on me, or just say, hey Josh, I can't attend. Sorry, can we do another day? I'm like, yeah, that's completely fine. Yet again, shit happens in life. You get cold feet in life, or you just realize that, hey, I need to reevaluate this sort of thing, and that is completely normal. In fact, there can be a lot of damage done if you accept something that you know you won't be able to do and it just negatively impacts you. Um, like riding that roller coaster and you just like faint halfway through the climb up, or you do a cliff dive even though you shouldn't do a cliff dive because like you're just so anxious and nervous, and especially if you have like people chanting behind you. I'll just say don't listen to those people. Trust in yourself basically and reevaluate when you need to. And I'll just say don't yet again feel bad. We're all human, right? We all look at something, think it's easy, but when we go up to do it, not it's not there, and it's like we just back up. And I've like done that with assessments. Sometimes assessments are another good analogy where you pick one essay question, you pick like one thing to do it for an assessment or one aspect or angle to explore, and then you realize early on that hey, this is not going to work. My draft needs to be reevaluated, and you choose another idea. That is completely fine for assignments. I mean, depends when you do it. I mean, if you do it last minute, then you kind of but if you do it earlier on in this stage, if you do it before all your ideas need to be locked in with the teacher, that's like completely fine, or at least like locked in by the end of like the research stage, and that's completely fine, things change around. Obviously, yet again, I didn't sign any relating to what happened, I guess, today with me. I didn't sign any contract. It's just a social thing. So I guess take this looking forward. I'll reevaluate my focus on what I seek out of a career or a job, maybe full-time employment, a traineeship or something like that. Who knows? But now I know what I'm going to do. And just keep on looking forward. If something I guess bothers you, like I cancelled on a party, I feel bad about it. Don't feel bad about it. All right. If it bothers you so much, then just like delete that original message or email, or just like obviously text a person, saying hey, I can't make it. I'm sorry, but then just say obviously like you know maybe catch up another time, or if it's you're just canceling out on a job interview like me, you just basically say, oh, you know what, thank you, bye, I got other opportunities lined up and all that, because, you know, best not to waste time in life. I know, yet again, it might be a little bit silly for me to say this, because job interviews usually go by pretty quick, but, if I just know I'm not going to do this certain thing, or I'm not going to go into this certain profession, then, the sooner I can quit that path, the sooner I can cut that path, the sooner I can go onto the new path. Essentially, there's no point in, I guess, trying to dig further and further into that hole or into that tunnel, if it's just going to lead you to like a dead end. It's going to lead you in the opposite path that you intended. And I guess cold feet can really be useful in some aspects. Where obviously with discretion and all of that, but like you know when you just feel nervous about something, your nervous system kicks in, you just feel anxious and all that. It's obviously a natural human emotion, but it shows, I guess, what your boundaries are, and shows that you need to reevaluate your focus. So I always say, evaluate your risks in life, and I guess that'll be my little wise quote for today. Evaluate the risks in life. All right, evaluate everything. If you see a risk, no matter how small or large it is, evaluate it. And I guess this whole episode's really been my little wise quote for today. But if you get cold feet, don't feel pressured. Rely on your evaluation and instinct. And who cares what other people have to say? They're not in your shoes, And I guess try not to coerce others. Like, it's just generally a very, even if it's something like a birthday party and all, that's just generally like a very dodgy aspect. Or not dodgy, but I just don't like it. And as someone who was, I guess, like, I'm no legal expert or anything, but I learned a lot about the law. and I always play things safe, obviously. And I make it clear to someone that, hey, I am if I were to work for an advertising agency or whatever, if I were to phone up someone um, and say, hey, I clearly state who I am, I clearly state my purpose, and then I'm just saying, oh, how can I help you today, or what issues do you need resolving, or you know, what is the matter? And if someone just says, you know, oh, nothing's the matter, or any time in the phone call request that they want to hang up, I allow them to do so. At least if I was in that position. Um, if I knock on a stranger's house for directions or whatever, and they're just like, "Oh, so can you leave the property or something like that?" Or sorry, I can't help you. I know it seems like very specific scenarios. I haven't been in those scenarios, but those are the only ones I can really think of in my brain. Then yeah, you just like leave, and yeah, I don't do anything. And yeah, like I guess depending what field you work in, if you work as like a journalist or something like that, you will 100% know that if you yeah, again, walk onto someone's property, you have an implied right to do so, at least here in Australia. And then you knock on the door, and yeah, if they just say, "Oh, just leave, we're not interested," and you do what they say, you don't try and rebuttal or anything like that. Um, because yeah, it's just going to lead to more problems and solutions. And yeah, just be strong in yourself. Essentially, be strong in what you believe in. Be strong. Obviously, take this with, I guess, you know, what I'm saying in a beneficial way, in a positive way, not in like I guess a harmful way or way that can be weaponized against others. But you know, believe in your own abilities. That's a nice way to put it. Believe in your abilities because um, you know, who knows? Like, no one knows who you are the most than yourself. That sounds really bad, but like you know yourself best. Essentially, you know yourself best. No one knows um, as much as you, but yourself. Essentially, um, and if you get cold feet, like it's been raining today, and I've gotten a little bit of cold feet, but yeah, if you get cold feet, yeah, it's completely fine. If you have the reason to back down, do it. Yet again, though, obviously this is a specific life tip, but it can come handy. And don't feel. I think universally, just don't feel peer pressured. Um, Peer pressure negates that evaluation. It just throws all evaluation outside the window, and you're just relying on other people's testimonials and I guess pressuring to do a certain action or whatever. But critical evaluation should always come first. But anyway, that's enough of me blabbing, and I guess I'll catch you all later. Bye. See ya. Take care. Catch you all tomorrow.